at 1,600 hours. Any public comment? Anybody? Okay. Approval of the previous minutes, please. Any corrections? Additions? Can I have a motion for acceptance?
I second.
Minutes have been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Ready for Kathy?
Okay, Patty, go ahead.
Okay. Today we have July warrants that total $27,420.56. The total for payroll is $18,475.33. And this includes Chief Carlson's salary $5,000 and Chief Field's pay of $3,083.33. And one event for each of the commissioners and the secretary. The total payout for the volunteers, warrants included, is $10,515. And the June financial statements are in your meeting book for review. So today we're looking for a motion to approve the warrants and payroll for July as presented.
I move that we approve the warrants for July.
Do you want to name them, please?
I'm sorry?
The amount?
In the amount of $18,475.33.
For payroll.
For payroll.
And then the warrants?
And volunteer total of $8,723.
That's not a payout number.
That's not,
Where's your report?
27.
do I have the wrong report?
No, you have the right report.
Your monthly report. That's printed out in the paperwork that you received. Commissioner, do you have a copy of that?
That was the reports that I emailed.
Ooh, big stretch.
So these are the numbers that you want.
These are the numbers.
Sorry, Commissioner.
I think I'll do better now.
Okay, so you're, a new motion, please. A motion to approve warrants?
I move the July warrants, total $27,420.56 be approved.
And
The total for payroll is $18,475.33. And the total payout for volunteers, warrants included, is $10,515.
is there a second?
A second.
So it's passed. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Patty. Go ahead.
Yes, and I just have a budget update. As of June 30th, 2019, we have a 59.03% remaining in the budget, as opposed to 58.03% last year. So we're running right on track.
Good.
Yeah, just.
Thank you. Any questions about that? Go ahead, Patty.
Is that it for your report, Patty?
That concludes my report, yes.
Okay, do you want to stay on the phone?
I'm actually on the road,
Okay.
so I'm in, soon I'm heading home.
Talking on the
My
phone.
car's ringing.
Are you driving illegally?
No, I pulled over and turned it on.
Okay. All right, thanks, Patty, for your report. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Correspondence?
Can I go back to the budget real quick?
Sure.
So just a couple of things to explain. We're redoing the kitchen upstairs, as everybody knows, to make that better for the firefighters that volunteer and respond to this community. And part of the $18,000 was $6,500 for new cabinetry up there. Over the years, we've had multiple backups and floods. in the plumbing up there. It's flooded the entire kitchen area, and it's flooded the bathroom at least twice now. We've had 2 insurance payouts for that as well. So now we're utilizing those funds to help us redo the flooring and kitchen cabinets and make it a nice place for the firefighters up there. One of the other big expenses was we had to get 8 new tires for engine 5802, which is our large engine, and we got those done, and that came from 4,600 to 505. And that's pretty much it on the big expenses for last month.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. So,
No correspondence to speak of.
your report?
So Chief's report for July 2019 for the month of June. Point of information is just general. We have a golf tournament coming up July 20th. It benefits charities, Point Roberts Food Bank, Dollars for Scholars, and Connects Place, which is a children's hospital in Lower Mainland, Vancouver. I know Tony is sponsoring, or he's one of the sponsors for that event. We have multiple other sponsors too, and the Volunteer Firefighters Charitable Society is putting that on. So we'd like to see golfers. Right now we have about 50 golfers and 25 teams, it seems, at this point. We'd like to get at that to 30, 35 teams, if possible, by July 20th. So if you guys know any golfers, we'd appreciate that to be passed along. I might actually be golfing, but I can only give my ticket to my wife, who actually golfs. I hit golf balls, so that's how constituted as golfing. But my wife actually has clubs, and I don't have any clubs, and she's starting to take some private lessons, so I think that's pretty good. The school's Parent Teacher Association Hot Diggity Jog 5K Run Walk is July 27th, and that supports the Parent Teachers Association, the school, and the children within that school. And if the Firefighters Association decides to split the revenues or the monies that come in, last year they gave all the monies to the PTA. So they said they didn't need any, and they just let the PTA keep all of the funds that came in that 5K. This year, hopefully, we'll get 75 to 100 joggers. I think we had 50-some last year. Didn't you do it?
I did. That's fun.
Yeah, so that's coming up on July 27th. So July 20th is the golf tournament. July 27th is the 5K run walk to the school. And I need to talk to you about the Helen and Jose Colton Foundation.
The what?
The Helen and Jose Colton Foundation. They gave a grant to the Volunteers Firefighters Charitable Society, and that grant came in the amount of $60,000 to the Firefighters Charitable Society. I know that PrEP has received a sizable grant as well, around $40,000 for a first installment to be utilized for the community center's kitchen and some work around there possibly. And that's the first installment for them, so hopefully there's multiple other installments coming. The food bank received $5,000, if I'm not mistaken, and then Dollars for Scholars received $5,000 as well. And was there any others?
Circle of Care.
Circle of Care received $55,000, I believe, for a new wheelchair.
Accessible van.
Yeah. And this community is blessed to have those funds coming in. And how that all came about is one of their board members actually has a home here in Point Roberts. And she was talking to them about Point Roberts, and they finally made the decision to come up and see if it was a community that could benefit from the foundation's funds that they have to give away every year, which is 5% of their annual, I guess, overall budgetary process, or what their foundation's worth. So we look forward to them coming back every year and hopefully supporting the same groups and maybe additional groups as the years go on. But for us, we're hoping that the Volunteer Charitable Society will be able to purchase and help us replace our life packs, our cardiac monitors, and all of our automatic external defibrillators, which will add 1 or 2 more out in the community. We'll be able to get another one back into the sheriff's vehicles, and then we're replacing 3 of the really old AEDs that were from a grant back in the 1990s
Yeah.
from North Region.
No, I think it was in 2001.
2001, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1990 is a little far back. They're older AEDs, quite old AEDs, and we're going to have state-of-the-art cardiac monitoring, defibrillation, and those types of things coming up. So I want to extend an extreme gratitude on behalf of our community to the Helen and Jose Cole Foundation and Andrea and Meredith, who was one of the board members that's brought them here. We owe a huge gratitude to them at this point, helping the food bank, helping the community center, get a new kitchen, refrigeration, all of those things. So thank you very much to the foundation. So apparatus, I don't have anything to report on the apparatus other than the tire changes that were shown on the credit card receipts for 5802. 44 members, 28 Canadian, 9 Point Roberts, 7 County. We have 3 paramedics on staff, including myself, 10 EMTs, 7 are advanced EMTs, 3 ambassadors, and of the 44 members, 38 of those are certified firefighters. Volunteer hours for the month of June, 2,841 hours given to this community. Volunteer payroll, 13,210 if all volunteers are being paid. Combined chief hours, I worked 162.5. Assistant Chief Shields worked 138.5. Total chief hours equal 301 hours for the month of June. We had 37 calls in the month of June, 14 were EMS or medical calls. We had 3 transports that we did through our agency to St. Joseph's Hospital. There was 8 no transports. 2 transports went to North Whatcom to continuation down to St. Joseph's, and 1 went to Medic 45. We had 16 community paramedic contacts in the month of June, 1 agency assist, and 1 public service. 5 fire classifications. We had 1 permitted burn, 2 illegal burns, and those are outdoor burns. We had 1 false alarm, and we had 1 boat issue that we handled in June 2019. If there's no questions, that concludes my chief's report with 1 exception. Chief Shields has been exceptionally working for the agency for multiple years, and reviewing all of the work that he's done over the last year or 2 years. I gave him a step increase. I gave him a $1,500 increase. He went from $35,500 to $37,000, and I believe it was well overdue. So he got that increase, and now I'm going to expect more. But I want to thank Chief Shields for all the dedication and times that I call in the wee hours of the morning and at night, and he comes over and gives his expertise, always with a smile on his face. And just thank you for your service, John.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it, dedication to the community and to the district.
And I want to say thank you from the commissioners as well. We know
Very welcome.
John does an awful lot for
I
us.
absolutely applaud that action. And it's been extremely helpful in the community as well as with the district.
Any other questions of the chief? New business.
New business will fall underneath with Tony Kelly and the update that he has for our district insurance coverage. As you know, that comes up in September for renewal. Commissioners have asked for him to come out in July so they have more time to review the final package and make any changes before that September mark if necessary. So Tony, I'll hand the floor to you.
Hello and good afternoon, Commissioners, the Chief, Secretaries, Assistant Chief, Tony Kelly here from Kelly Insurance. And I have before you today your renewal for your insurance program package, which insures the district for the values of all the building and contents, the vehicles and portable equipment, as well as your professional liability for the building officials liability and an umbrella policy at 10 million limit. So this policy is guaranteed replacement costs on this building and on if you want to look through it, on page 5 of this presentation, they have the building limit, $3,190,704 for the building, and business personal property, which is your things inside of the building, $382,885. That's on guaranteed replacement costs. There's no separate deductibles. The good news is, and Commissioner Harper asked me a question about earthquakes, and I just had to say that this policy gives you that limit of insurance. It's not a pooling sort of a thing. It's your own separate policy, and for those limits. So the total limit for earthquake and flood, it has $1,000 deductible, but the policy will pay $3,573,589 should that sort of an event happen.
So can I add into that? So Commissioner Harper, you had that question. We used to be with CIAW. And CIAW, before we went to the SIP, CIAW was a pool. And they had billions of dollars, but they also covered all the way from California, Oregon, Washington. So everybody in other states, I'm sure. But there was always a risk that if something major happened, an earthquake, that they could potentially not have the funds to cover us here. So by going years ago, I don't know how many years.
2014.
2014, we switched over to the SIP. So we would have our own individual insurance certificate and guarantee for those funds. So that's where we're at.
Interestingly, I had a conversation with a client today about just replacement costs, and as you well know, in Western Washington, zip codes kind of indicate where you're at, right? And for Point Roberts, this particular geographic location gives you that sort of added expenses that you run into with just transportation costs and things. And I quoted a number just off the top of my head. I said, on the average, I think replacement cost of a building is probably 25% more up here, just based on getting materials in and out. But it's important to me that you have good protection for building and renewing your building should have. And also that all the vehicles are under, well, except for the command vehicles, they're rated like your command vehicles, actual cash value vehicle, but the ambulances, the tenders, and the pumpers are replacement costs, so guaranteed replacement costs. Which, and that's why, like on your Darling, we have $400,000 insurance on it, so we can replace it.
And that's our new one.
How is this different from last year?
It's the inflation guard checks the amount of insurance up. So we're up. We have about 100,000 more insurance, and the premium increase is about $1,100 this year. So the total premium on the back page for the entire package includes all of the property, liability, and the umbrella. It's $28,567. And
last year, approximately 1,100 less.
we were 27,391. There's a significant increase built into that property as it the inflation rate to make sure that we're able to replace. Guaranteed replacement.
Now, the replacement cost that assumes that will have to be building code standard.
Yes, there's building ordinance built into that. Yes. Yeah, ordinance and law. And interestingly, you should bring that up, and I won't take up too much time. We had a warehouse burned down. It was $1 million loss, and that particular city had elevated a reservoir, and so the floodplain came up a foot. And so in order for them to build on that site, they had to raise that building site 2 feet. And we had $150,000 in protection, and it cost $175,000 for gravel. And so those are the things that you don't see that coming, but building ordinance can, and that's included inside those policies. You're not going to fall into the trap of not having enough to reset the site.
Mhm.
Thanks for letting me share that story. That happened on 9/11 in 2014, just so you know.
What are the decisions that the commissioners have to make every year about the cybersecurity?
Your policy has I call it the starter cyber program, and it's got a $50,000 limit inside of it. If you wanted to increase that to, they have a separate cyber policy that, in addition to it's a $500 charge, but that upgrades your cyber up to $500,000. So,
And we've
last year we didn't want that.
historically denied that
Yeah.
coverage.
The other thing that we have on the list of decisions that you can make is and these are Washington state laws, that we always have to let you know that you buy underinsured motorist bodily injury protection for your firefighters in the vehicles and such. And that could be the public in the vehicle if that ever happened. But at the end of the day, you buy underinsured motorists and you buy the terrorism. There's $243 of terrorism built into this policy, and you have every right to reject that if you want. In the past, you accepted it as part of the policy, so it's in the policy now, but if you wanted to peel that terrorism. So, and the reason that we bring that up, and it's ethics, because in our state, fire caused by terrorism is covered. So if it's a terrorist act and it's fire related, you've got coverage, because we are here in Washington a form-following state that mandates that you'll have that. So we've always got to bring that to the table because there's an ethical question there. If you didn't know that, you wouldn't be able to make a clear decision. Given the environment of terrorism these days, as an insurance agent, I recommend that you purchase it. And that's just my recommendation, but you would know that I won't make any other recommendations as to not purchase it. But that question is for you to decide. Because of it, the nature of it, it's a federal law, the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act, which started back in when 9/11 happened, which is...
So the reason why we normally turn down the cyber is because all of our computers are separate computers. We don't have an on-site storage capability that somebody can hack. Our emergency reporting is where we report all of our medical and fire calls and documentation. That is controlled online, and they have their own security built into that. So I don't see, it's always a possibility, but I think because we don't have a server, we don't have a central server here, it's a lower risk to us. Because if somebody hacks into one computer, then it's only that computer they have access to and can lock out. And, you've heard about the payments that have to go out to companies when they have their server hacked.
They call it a hostage virus.
Yes, and they pay tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to unlock those.
Yeah.
Because for whole companies, I think Sprint got a couple years ago, I think Sprint was hit.
We had one locally, it happened on the 1st of July, on 4th of July weekend, and it hostaged it was an engineering company that did manufacturing, and it hostaged their engineering files and their working files, so two sets. And they didn't want that much. It's Bitcoin. They wanted $1,500 to get those back. And, because they can name their own price, but for whatever reason, these types of hackers tend to just want to cause you misery, and they're not really concerned about the money so much. But at the end of the day, they were out for a week. No manufacturing because the line was down and the research department was down. And just to make matters worse, the virus, or I should say the hostage program, came through their, and I can't mention the name of the backup company, but it came through that entryway, through their paid-for server backup company. Yeah, so, screw us all out. Needless to say, we're out there to offer that to you. You have in your systems kind of, I'm no computer expert, but it appears, or you make me believe that it's somewhat isolated. It has separate and no servers. So mostly it's that unfortunate incident where data that doesn't belong to you gets in somebody else's hands, which usually that's private, identifiable information. which goes beyond your name and your birthday. It goes like to social security numbers, driver's license numbers, those kinds of things. So, yeah, I don't want people to have my social security number. I'll give it to you. Thank you.
I have a question,
Mhm.
Tony. The coverage on vehicles and equipment, on apparatus, does that apply to what's in the inventory now? For example, if some new piece of apparatus is acquired, would it be automatically covered under this policy, or would that additional apparatus require an adjustment of the premium?
Yeah, there's a window to add new vehicles, newly acquired vehicles, and we typically like to do that within, in the old days, it was 30 days. That was actually the law. Now it's down to 4 days. It's basically a weekend, right? They give you the new form gives you 5 days in personalized insurance. But for us, because of the high value and the nature of these pieces, we usually know that they're being ordered and that they're coming, and we try to draw on our relationship that we have good communications about. Oh, by the way, we just ordered another $500,000 apparatus, and it's here now. And we need to add that on and make a charge for it.
I see.
And that's what happened with the new engine 58, 3378, the new Darley, is that I contacted Tony and let him know that that was purchased and we were in possession of it. And they added that to the policy, which was an additional $700, I think, last year.
So this is the 1994 Darley Spartan?
No.
No.
So the
2018.
Yeah, the new one car. Okay, so I just have one little bit of homework. They have it's an incorrect number. It's kind of getting kicked back out for that 94 Darley. So I just need to go look at that serial number.
That happens every year. I think that happened last year.
Yeah, we went through the same thing. So
That it
I'm gonna
always
go.
gets kicked back for some reason.
If it's possible, I'd like to get a digital photograph of that plate.
You can get it here when you're here, before you leave.
I will do that before I leave, but that's one of my to-do lists.
So yes, I make sure he's updated on anything that we acquire new, so that adjustments can be made, and if something happens within that 30, 60 days, we're already covered underneath the policy.
We have also non-owned and hired, so if the volunteers or staff are using their own vehicles, which we do sometimes when we're making runs, this policy provides protection for them and their vehicles, to and from the call.
And that's something CIAW did not provide, if I remember correctly, or was an additional cost.
They would provide protection on the way to the call, but not that.
So this gives another layer of protection to the volunteers who dedicate themselves to this community. So the cost of insurance is going to go up, and we're not in any financial hardships by having ESIP as our insurer, having the umbrella policy, a $10 million umbrella policy. So I'm happy with the coverage. ESIP has stepped up any claims that we've had. They've been very accommodating with those claims, and that helps us, again, repair the damage. Sometimes insurance companies don't want to help you repair the damage, but ESIP has been very, very acknowledging to us.
And Commissioner Harper had asked about where they were located, and this company is McNeil and Company. It's based in New York. They have a Spokane office. The Spokane office is staffed by a gentleman named Glenn Potter, who was in my office 2 weeks ago, and then the national representative is a fellow named Bill Dixon, and you will see these people at Commissioner-in-Chief's conferences and on the floor of the vendors and such. So when you're at those shows, or I call them trade shows, but what do you actually call them?
Conferences. Yeah, one other thing is we do professional development training through ESIP. All of our members, all of you are part of that as well. But they offer HIPAA training to our members. They offer sexual harassment, workplace violence, suicide training, all of those types of things which are assigned on a yearly basis to our volunteers. And if any of you want to do those courses as well, you're part of the list. But I can send you out and you can log in, I'll give you that, so then you can be part of them as well.
Yeah, I see the emails come in, invitations to various.
The e-learning center.
Yeah, the e-learning center, which is great, because it's something that I put, workplace harassment, workplace violence is something that all the members go through every single year. And that's something I require, so in the HIPAA training as well.
Just for practice, I'd like to go on the e-learning center and just try the course, see what it's like. I did the active shooter class, which was frightening to say the least, but it's something that we in the EMS services are now faced with, and that we're beginning to train for. In the county, we've had some drills that go around the gas pipelines and such, and we did a mock one last year, and it was a mock gas line explosion, and that had to be done through the unified districts, so to speak, and they practice that so that they can go ahead and do an active shooter drill. So first we had to do a disaster drill, and then we move on to that. So that they can, and these are things that I never thought in my life that I would ever be faced with, but it's something that now we're conscious of, that there's certain precautions that need to be made in public facilities. So I think we're doing a good job of it.
We've talked to the sheriff's office as well about maybe combining and doing some type of active shooter training up here, because we're going to be by ourselves for the better part of an hour if something like that hits. We are I would have to say, I don't know if true is the right word, but a gated community, because everybody gets a background check that comes through by ground. It's those people that come up by boat or by airplane that pose the greatest threat, because we're small, we're very isolated, and we have a small school, churches, those types of things up here too. So I'm hoping I can move forwards with that and maybe plan something that at least we can have a tabletop exercise, because the county has an exercise that is for the main part of the county, but they don't include Point Roberts in that. So everybody's like, oh, we got plenty of law enforcement officers, they're going to be coming from everywhere, a bunch of different jurisdictions, but who's going to be coming to us, right? And the travel. And James, do you want to speak to that?
It's going to be me and whoever's with me will be responding.
So James is one of our local sheriff's officers here. And the customs said they would always, if the request was put out, they would come down and back up and send their people, because they're firearm carrying capacity as well. But it's in that interim before we get that assistance from the county and get 20 officers, on scene, and SWAT and, other needs. It's going to be, they could get stopped at CDSA, because as all of you know, years ago, the FBI and DEA, I think,
ATF.
We had a bomb scare up here, and I don't know when this was.
Yeah, we had a bomb threat at one of the parcel services, and Canadian border wouldn't let the,
They stopped them.
They stopped them there.
The FBI and everybody through CDSA, so they had to bring over a barge at that time.
Yeah.
So I think the relationship has changed to some degree, so hopefully if they're coming emergent to the border, that they understand they're not responding to something in Canada, but look over and see the little point of our lands, and we need to go there type thing. So I'll be talking to our local deputies, and then hopefully moving forward with at least a tabletop, or the starting of a conversation on how are we going to acquire the resources necessary in what time frame. Because if the county's busy, they're going to have low amount of officers. So are we pulling from Blaine City? Are we pulling from Ferndale PD? How does that look? And that's something that we need to work out before it happens.
Would you open that to residents of Point Roberts if they're interested, or?
I think it's imperative that the players that are going to be in the commands, be part of that first initial meeting. That reminds me, I want to add in the mass migration plan. I want to talk to that, but I think for the sheriff's office and us to get together first at the command level, and then maybe get some ideas from the public, I think that would be a good idea, especially, the parents, because we don't want people coming. We don't want the parents driving up and coming into our scene because their child's inside the school, right? We need to talk through that as organizations, but also probably as a community. But at some point, we have to stop talking about making decisions. So it depends how many people get involved, but we can't just continue conversations, right? We have to make the right decisions that are going to save the most lives. Okay. Yeah. So the mass migration, I had a meeting with CBSA, CBP, Delta Fire, Rescue, DEM came up, John Gargett, at our last meeting. And we're talking about, and I think I mentioned this at a previous meeting, possibly, that we're talking about what happens in a wildland situation here in Point Roberts if we have a large wildland fire. And what if a tsunami is coming in to Point Roberts as well? Because we have tsunami evacuation routes, posted everywhere. And, through these, we had 2 or 3 meetings, and through these meetings, we actually realized that it's probably safer for people to protect in place here in Point Roberts, get out of the way of a moving wildland fire. If they have animals, do not try to put those animals in a truck or a horse-carrying, trailer, and try to move them, open up the gate, release them, let them go where they need to go because they'll get away and they'll go to safety. But in a wildland fire, the best direction we can probably provide is to get to one of the 3 sides of the water. And where we have the forest, that's going to be our most dangerous, especially if it's wind-driven. More populated home areas, we have less burning, in the capacity of a forest across the street that has no houses in it, and how fast that can take over that area. We see probably sporadic fires, but Delta has an interest in helping us stop that type of fire as well, because if it's northward bound, crosses the border, now it's in their municipality, and they have problems as well. So they would prefer to help us stop it before it gets to the border. My phone call to Parks and Rec the other day, I spoke to one of those individuals there, and talking to him about smoking in the county parks when we were in a full burn ban. And the amount of cigarette butts we're seeing on the trail system in Lily Points and being reported to us, people picking up the cigarette butts, and the danger that poses if we're not able to implement a no smoking ban as well when people are hiking in those areas during a full burn ban only. So like we have a partial burn ban coming up on open burning that's going to have land clearing and residential, but recreational fires are still allowed. But once it gets so dry that recreational fires become a risk as well with the small sparks, then once that trigger is pulled, for better words, that I would request that the trails and the, especially Lily Point, but probably Monument Park and Lighthouse, just made all the parks non-smoking areas during that period of time too. I don't think people realize that a cigarette burns extremely high temperatures, and it'll burn and smolder for a number of times, depending on the rain and mist and the fuel level of that it lands on, fuel moisture level. But almost every summer, I think last summer was no exception, we found multiple cigarettes that had burned partial leaves in the ditches when we were picking up the trash. And it's just one flick of a cigarette away, right? If the wildland fire gets into the trees, we're going to be in big trouble if it gets into the trees. And if it's wind driven, it's going to take a lot of property and a lot of land mass here in Point Roberts. So I asked people, I'm working with Parks and Rec now to see if the county would agree to that when we go full burn ban, especially because of our geographical area and our struggle getting mutual aid companies here, that we could implement that no smoking as well during that period of time. So we'll see where we go. I'll try to report back on that to you, but it's for the safety of the community as a whole. And we're limited resources here, limited personnel, and I want to be able to do the best I can, but I also want to try to avoid unnecessary risks. And by saying that people can't smoke in the park during a full burn ban, I think is a good way to go about that. But not making it competing during non-full burn. So I don't want to take away liberties people have. right? But only in the extreme conditions to protect the entire community as possible. Does anybody have any questions on that?
It seems to me to be an excellent balance. I'm actually surprised that you don't have the authority to simply do that.
Well, actually, I do, but I'm trying to work with the other agencies. So I want to be,
I did have the right impression that you're trying to do it in a more collaborative way.
so our district could put in a moratorium on any type of burning here. And we could say there's no outdoor burning whatsoever. I believe, I don't want to say wrongfully, but Sandy Point, District 17, I believe, has a non-burn, no outdoor burning allowed within that district. And I don't know about Lummi. I'm questioning whether Lummi has it too. But anyway, we do have that jurisdictional authority. But again, I understand the importance of some outdoor burning as long as people are doing it legally, not burning trash, not burning, construction material, those types of things that are probably treated with some type of material that could poison, the air. And it goes along with Northwest Clean Air. And we've sent one person down to Northwest Clean Air. They ended up paying a $750 fine because they were a habitual illegal burner. Right? We've shown up and there's 4x4 piles of trash bags being burnt. I take that very serious, and so do my crews. And when we have that now, we'll normally give that person one opportunity to correct. We put the fire out. If we come back and they're doing the same thing, then we send them down to Northwest Clean Air. And we take pictures of all the illegal burns. So we have that documentation, because prior to that, we've been doing that for how long, John, do you think?
4 years.
Probably 4 years. We've been taking pictures, and we get the person, we get the property in the picture, we get the materials, the substances that are being burned. And before that, we had people going, well, I wasn't burning that. That's not my property. And we had no recourse, right? We had no proof that was objective. So now we take pictures of everything that's illegal, so we can produce that for Northwest Clean Air, so they can produce the fines on that. And they can fine up to tens of thousands of dollars too. In this burn ban, as you saw in my posting to the Yellow Point Bulletin and to Pause, we can charge the homeowner for our fire services during burn bans. So if they start a fire, I can charge them for engine time, for the amount of personnel on that engine. And that's illegal for us to do. So I ask the public during these times of non-residential, non-land clearing burns that they follow that directive and don't have those types of burns starting this Friday. Now, if we get a massive amount of rain, they might postpone it. We might get that email, and I'll make sure the public understands that if they postpone it, because if we get solid rain for a week, they may lift it very soon, but usually once it's on for a period of time. Do you all have any questions on that?
And we've already had one fire on the beach we had to deal with last weekend.
Yeah, that was on Monument Park.
That was on Monument Park.
And if you've ever been to Monument Park, that's quite the hike down at the beach. And when we're talking about firefighters, we're carrying, wild packs that are about 5 gallons apiece. We carry fire extinguishers down there, bunker gear,
Pumps.
and everything else. So it's a haul. But yeah, we've already had that down at Monument Park, and we had a huge log that was smoldering. So someone had been down there trying to set it on fire, or had a small fire, didn't make sure it was out, but they don't understand the consequences of not making sure that it's out. Because if the wind comes up, as you know, Commissioner, with your forestry district, that spark lands in the right place in the woods. Monument Park's going to go up in a flash, and that's going to get into the municipal area of Delta very, very quickly. So people just don't think.
Yes, a question.
Yes,
There are plenty of jurisdictions that ban smoking in parks. I can't smoke in a park in Vancouver. Are you aware of any jurisdictions in the county that bans it?
and that's what I'm trying to understand and have the conversations with Parks and Rec to see what the lax in RCWs allow. I'm going to be contacting the fire marshal's office as well to try to get some feedback from them and to see if I have that authority through my jurisdiction that I can, even though it's a county park, we still protect it within our district. We're responsible for it. We come under contract with parks they give us like $250 to protect all of their parks,
Yeah,
which is nothing compared to what the resources we're going to need if something takes off.
because I can understand not wanting to take off the, 22% of the population that smokes, but I walk Lily Point 4 or 5 times a week, and I see all of those cigarette butts, and I was thinking that we should have, before you mentioned this, that really should agitate for a ban on smoking in parks, because you don't need to smoke in the park.
Yeah, they're there to get exercise, I guess, and to be healthy.
And I'm a former smoker, so.
So,
Holier
if you're
than thou.
exercising, don't smoke when you're trying to get healthy. And once you come off the trail, then you can have your cigarette, I guess.
But it would seem to me that, you know, could we post signs to remind people not to drop their cigarette butts? You know, this is just being polite.
Right.
Not only safe, but polite.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be doing
And
that.
I don't think there's going to be any problem with that. I already talked to some of the rangers, park rangers that we have up here, and they were on board with putting up signs. So I'll see where the conversation goes. I'm going to reach back out to my Parks and Rec contact and probably next week and see what they've come up with in their research on the topic. I'll have talked to the fire marshal by that chain of time as well. But it is a high risk, especially, again, you know, I like, you know, if it was easy for us to just put a complete non-smoking in parks, then maybe that's the right way to go. Again, I'm pretty high on people's liberties and their freedoms. So if the parks allow it at certain times, you know, especially during the winter, those types of things when snow's on the ground. But it's, number one, it's litter. So we're dealing with cigarette butts and it's littering. So that's another issue on this topic. We'll see where it goes and I'll report back to all of you. And I'm just trying to work with the organizations and not just
Well, that's good.
go, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, the thing about people got these slush piles that they're burning because of snow.
Yeah,
There's no guarantees. That's not gonna be a problem.
sure.
Because the weather will change maybe, and we don't have any rain, snow.
Yeah, just because it's cold outside or it's raining or there's a little snow, doesn't guarantee that there's not going to be a fire problem.
Yeah, they need to stay with us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so I think, does that cover everything I was trying to cover with it?
Yep.
So they have to make what decisions, Tony?
Yeah, so it would be good to gather your approval to renew this policy so that we can get that back to the company and we can issue the policy for September 1st.
Since I'm hearing that Chief Carlton is happy with the policy and feels that it's the right direction to move in, I have no problems whatsoever moving that this policy be accepted.
I think it behooves us to protect the public's assets to the highest degree possible when we have the economics to do so. And that's what we're doing right now with this policy. So now when we don't have the finances, then we may have to adjust the policy in certain ways. But as long as we do, and it's not impairing us to provide service to the community, then it's really important for us to protect our assets.
Is there,
I make a motion that we accept this insurance policy as it's written down.
Okay, the renewal.
The renewal.
do, second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay.
I thought I already moved so.
You did, but that's okay.
Well, it's been moved twice and
Indeed,
seconded.
it's very moving.
Very moving.
So that's,
And voted on,
and voted on.
passed 3-0.
Yep.
Thank you.
James, do you want to say anything?
No.
No? Okay.
I would welcome an adjournment motion.
I'd like a new business, to speak of new business if possible.
Oh, okay.
Public comment usually, but
Okay.
we can,
We can hear
So it
you.
would be public comment item.
Okay, thank you. So, as you know, it's about the fireworks, and I was talking to the chief and the sheriff on July 1st about the fireworks. that were held at the marina. And we were also in contact with the fire marshal. And the fire marshal contacted the marina in the morning to advise them of the days to have the fireworks, which was the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and to please follow those rules. 2 hours later, after the fire marshal talked to several people and finding out that this was a regular thing that happened on the 1st, he changed and made an exemption to allow them to have fireworks. And he quoted an ordinance in making that exemption. And when we looked at that ordinance, it was, we could see that it was a power to restrict or deny, but not to extend the county ordinance to not have fireworks on any days besides the 3 days. So we're concerned about that exemption. Have you gone any further on that, Chief Carlton?
No, I have not.
Okay, and I appreciate your engagement on a lot of this, and we really would like support for more understanding in our community about the federal guidelines that talk about keeping fireworks 1 mile away in clear areas and half a mile away in forested areas, and information on the Eagle Act that requires a permit if you have blasting or loud intermittent noise within those guidelines that require a permit. Calling the permit people, they say the permit is required for that. So that's another law we're concerned about. There was 2 eagle's nests with 2 baby eaglets in both nests, both actually under half a mile in the 3 main fireworks that were going off on July 4th. So we're really concerned about that. We did advise the marshal, been in contact, and I understand it's difficult in putting all these laws together because there's federal, state, and county. And we continue to be in contact with the environment and also Fish and Wildlife. And we'd like the chief's support and the sheriff's support to learn more about these rules and guidelines so that the community can be more aware. Just like you have your burn bans, if in fact this is correct, if we can advise the community to keep the fireworks at least 1 mile away from Eagle's Nest. We did film, we have a couple of bird enthusiasts here in Point Roberts, and have been trying to engage the community for several years. And we've been finding more information out this year, which was great, and getting more understanding. We also found out in Delta, they don't allow fireworks anymore, and talked to the deputy fire chief there, and his 2 reasons were safety and wildlife. One of the big things is the bird environment, and we're on a Pacific flyway that has a lot of the birds, and so if the chief would continue the engagement and help us understand the rules, and also engage with the community so we can get it right the next time.
Do you have a comment about that?
No. Heidi and I have had a few conversations now regarding this, and there's a lot of things that are at work here. The sheriff's office has been involved, the fire marshal's office has been involved, and there's going to be further understanding of this as we work through this heading into next year as well. So I'll definitely keep in contact with you, Heidi, and be supporting the outcome of the fire marshal has complete jurisdiction on this.
Sure.
When it comes to the fireworks, and there's recommendations at play for being in certain radiuses of eagles and things like that. So we'll continue working on these.
Go ahead.
What's the status of those 2 pairs of eagles?
The 2 pairs of eagles, we have film of them deserting their nests during the fireworks. The one closest deserted it on just the morning blast, and we got film of that, and we have infrared on the other one who was 0.8 miles away from the marina, and it deserted it on the main blast. And it's not normal for it's not normal behavior for eagles to fly at night. And it says here, for the purposes of the National Bald Eagle Management Guidelines, disturb means to agitate or bother a bald eagle or golden eagle to the degree that it causes or likely to cause based on best scientific information available. That's why the 1 mile guideline, and those guidelines were broken by the 3 fireworks locations.
But at this point in time, these Eagles are all right.
Pardon me?
At this point in time, the Eagles are all right?
We're not sure yet. This does affect them, long term, we're not sure. They did go back to the nest the next day, but they abandoned it for the night, and it did disturb their feeding habits. And the same thing, what's it? Sheltering behavior, feeding and sheltering behavior. And so we're quite concerned about it. We, as you may know, we already have an abandoned nest by the marina. I'm under the understanding that it was abandoned within the past 5 years since that fireworks started at the marina. But these other 2 nests are active nests. And so I feel with one abandoned nest already, let's learn from this. I don't want anybody charged. Let's do the right thing. Let's keep fireworks at least a mile away. There's options to put them on barges. There's options at Lighthouse Park to get permission there. And let's take note and maybe have conversations with Delta, who don't have fireworks anymore because of wildlife. We've also got Swim, Port Townsend, and Port Angeles that have banned consumer fireworks for similar reasons than many others. We've had 9 cities that have moved fireworks a mile away in US without any further ordinances in the county, just with what is here.
I just wanted to know about the 2 pair of Eagles.
Yeah, they're back at their nests. We did watch them, they are feeding, but we continue to monitor and we're concerned that they were disturbed and that law was broken. We've got 3 laws that we feel are broken at this point.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes,
Anything else?
In any case, I can move the meeting to adjourn.
Okay, we adjourn at 16